In 2024, I reached a handicap of 6.9, but by 9 months ago, I drifted all the way back out to 12.1. Since then, I've managed to fight my way back down to an 8.8. But now, I want to find out how good I can really get, and I've given myself 16 weeks to find out. Like a lot of people, I started playing golf during COVID where there wasn't really much else to do. My first handicap was around the low 30s, and then I quickly moved down to the mid 20s and high teens, just with playing regularly. From there, I even got down to around 13, and before I started taking golf a bit more seriously and started practicing more and more. My best handicap I got in May 2024, where I reached 6.9. At that stage, I had just had a bit of time off work and had more opportunities to go to the course, practice my short game a lot, practice my driver, hitting fairways consistently. And I've never been a huge hitter of the ball. I don't have that much length, but I was able to be accurate, hit a lot of fairways, and had a really solid short game that helped me around the greens. But that didn't last. Eventually, I picked up more work, and since then, a year and a half later, I had slowly drifted out to 12.1. And that was just because I simply didn't have as much time to practice anymore. I wasn't keeping my short game in check, my driver in check, and things gradually regressed to that stage. When I got to 12.1, I said, that's it, enough is enough. So that was 9 months ago. And since then, I've been practicing regularly. I've been taking lessons. I've got an indoor setup now where I can hit balls. I've started doing speed training and work in the gym. And I've gotten myself down to an 8.8 handicap. Now, that to me isn't good enough right now. And I've set myself the challenge over the next 16 weeks to achieve two things. The first one, I want to get back to the lowest handicap I ever have, so 6.8 or lower. And the second one is that I want to shoot the lowest round that I ever have. And currently, my lowest round is a 75 from the front tees at Midlands, and that went down as a 3.6 differential on GA. So if I can get a differential of 3.5 or better, I will consider that a success. Now, with my current handicap of 8.8, I've also been tracking my stats over the last 6 months. So that shows me which areas I'm deficient in, which areas I need to improve, and which I need to maintain, and they're at a good level. My usual strengths have been around the short game, chipping and putting, and getting up and down. I feel like I've lost a bit of that touch as I haven't been able to practice it and get out on the course as much. So I'm really going to be focusing in on that area to get myself back to the level that I was before. My irons have always been touch and go. Some days they're good, some days they're not. I struggled with having a consistent shape because I'm a natural fader of the ball, but I always wanted to try and draw it because I knew I could get more distance out of it. So I want to really nestle into a consistent shape, both off the tee and with the irons, and try and find the center of the club face a lot more. I'm working with a professional coach and getting lessons quite regularly to check up on my swing, see how I'm going, and other areas that I need to improve. My putting has been letting me down a bit recently, which is quite disappointing because I considered myself a good putter. So I'm going to also be focusing a lot of time in that area as well, because there have been some really simple 3-footers that I've missed, which is costing me 1 or 2 strokes per round at the minute. So this is on-course stats, both for simulator and on the actual real-life course. Now, the key things that I'm tracking is obviously total score, average score on each different par, so par 3, par 4, par 5, the amount of fairways that I'm hitting. I'm also tracking my greens in reg, my scramble percentage, up and down percentage, and how many putts I'm having per hole on average. And one other key thing that I'm tracking, which has improved a lot is my doubles, three putts, and total penalties. You can see that the penalties has really decreased, and that's primarily because I've been straightening up my tee shots. The doubles also show a decreasing trend, apart from the last round, which was at a really, really tough course. So give me some leeway for that. So if we dive a bit deeper, we can see the tee shot analysis. And again, we'll just focus on course. So here we have the shots at green, which was those uninhibited shots at the green, balls in play. We have the greens in reg, and we have the fairway percentage. We also have a breakdown of the direction, and this is pretty consistent with what I would expect, given that I'm a natural fader of the ball. I'm missing right the most, but this straight percentage is surprisingly good if you can see where I was 6 months ago. And this is one thing that's really, really interesting, is a lot of people get fixated on how many fairways they hit per round. But you can see here that there's not a super steep trend when we consider fairway percentages and scores to par. Basically what this is saying is even if I hit 100% of fairways, at most I'm probably looking to be able to score about 7 over, all things considered, if I didn't change any other stats. So I'm also looking at my approach shots, my dispersions, my greens in reg, and this shows some really interesting things as well. Again, I will change it to just on course. So the greens in reg, I'm looking at about 30%. And this is actually trending up, which is really good. And the last 3 rounds for my dispersions, you can see I'm leaving quite a few short and left. But what looks good is I'm getting more and more actually on the green. Again, we can see that similar trend in this lower left graph, that I'm getting about 39% of my shots on the green, leaving 28% short, and 18% are going left. So if you compare what we had in the last page with the correlations to this one, we can see there's a much better correlation with lowering your score because of greens in reg. So if I was going to shoot an even par round, I would need to hit 90% of the greens, all things considered, equal in this analysis. Now that's probably not right, but obviously if I did hit 90% of the greens, then that would give me a really, really good chance to have an even par round. All right, short game. One thing that I am traditionally meant to be good at. So here we have the total putts per round and the scramble percentage. You can see that the last month hasn't really been great. Before that, I was trending up around 50%. And since then, I've kind of been around 40 or even lower, 11% in my last round. My average putts per round for the last 5 is 32.6, and I have a 3-putt rate of 6.67. So probably about 1 per round. Putts with score to par, quite obvious correlation there. The more putts you have, the higher you're going to score. And you can see my best putts per round is 24, where I had 14 over. That was a rough day. I think I remember it, where I wasn't hitting any greens, but I was just getting up and down a lot. And here, it's important to note the 3-putt rate against the greens in reg, because if you're not hitting many greens in reg, you're probably not going to have that many 3-putts. But if you are hitting more greens in reg and you see your 3-putts trending up, maybe that's because your irons are better and it's showing that you do have you are lacking in that speed control on your putting. So you need to look at these two things together. So that's the data that I'm recording. Let me know if I'm missing anything really important. I haven't shifted this to strokes gained, which would be really good, but this is just something simple that I've built myself right now. So all that data considered, it's pretty clear where I need to focus on. The first and most important thing is getting things in play and avoiding those big blowouts. So double bogeys, 3-putts, and penalties. I've done pretty well over the last 8 months to have that trending downwards. but I can always do better. The second thing that's really important is improving the iron strikes and increasing that greens in reg. As you saw, there's a super strong correlation with greens in reg hit and your score. So the more greens I can hit, the better I'm going to score. Thirdly, you could see that the scramble percentage has been going down for the last couple months. I need to get back out onto the practice green and start simulating a lot of up and down chips and getting used to chipping from different lies with different clubs, different scenarios. Get comfortable with the wedge in the hand and making a lot of 6-footers and in. I'm also doing speed training and gym work. So I'm using the stack system, which you might have heard of, which has these little screwable weights that you can screw onto this stick. And this is like weight training for swinging a golf club. You can see a few clips of me here swinging it, and you're meant to do 2 different kinds of swings. One is full intent, which is meant to be the maximum that you would swing your driver on the course, and the other is max all-out swing, which is obviously going as hard as you can. They also give you a program free for the first year, which is what I'm doing right now. So it gives you different weights and how many reps and sets you're meant to swing, with the goal of increasing my swing speed. I'll put up my base metrics now, and then the general rule is that you can increase your distance by about 3 to 5 yards per increase in mile per hour of club head speed. So if I can increase this 5 to 10 miles per hour, then I'm looking at hitting it possibly 20 meters further, which is the difference between having a 7-iron in and a 9-iron, or a 5-iron and a 7-iron, which will really help my scoring. Now, this is an experiment, right? And all good experiments start with a baseline. So stay tuned, because the next episode, we're setting a baseline in a 36-hole tournament in Tocumwal.